learn from my mistake. Are you tired of hearing the same old advice when it comes to real estate? Do you want to learn from the biggest and baddest mistakes in the industry? Then welcome to Learn from My Mistake, the podcast that brings you real estate professionals from all over, sharing the biggest blunders and how to avoid them. I'm one of your hosts, Jake Remillard, and I'm joined by my partner, Marie Baginski. We're here to give you the inside scoop on what not to do in the real estate game. From brokers to investors, we've got it all. We're not just here to tell you about our guest failures, though. We're here to help you learn from them so you can make the right moves when it counts. So buckle up and get ready to hear some juicy stories and expert advice you won't find anywhere else. This is Learn from My Mistake. New episodes drop every week. Don't miss out. Learn from my
Hey, what's going on, everybody? We got Jake Remillard, Marie Baginski, and Shawn Tiberio coming at you for episode. What are we? We're close to at least like 20, 21 or something like that, Marie?
Close. I think it's 18.
Oh, okay. All right.
Lucky
Still
number
pretty
18.
good.
Yeah, it's been going pretty strong, so I'm excited about it. Had a lot of interesting guests, and we have a really good lineup all through November, I'm pretty sure right now.
Yeah, but what's special about today's episode is this is the first time that, despite the fact that we are business partners, we're bringing somebody else in who we're also kind of intertwined with. So this is going to be a really exciting episode for us. Welcome, Shawn Tiberio.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
I was wondering when you guys were going to finally ask and put me on the show.
You know, we thought about it early on, but we wanted you to know that we had some other interesting guests come before you, you know?
Totally
like you weren't knocking down the door.
Yeah.
Shawn, do us a favor. Give a little intro on who you are, what you do, kind of a little bit about your background, real estate, and marketing related.
Absolutely. So quick back of the envelope backstory on Shawn. Spent 10 years in the Marine Corps and got out, realized college was still not the option. No different than it was 10 years prior when I decided to not go to college and go into the service. The Marine Corps taught me how to blow a lot of things up. So I thought because of that, I knew how things were built. I should just go into my own business. And I'm sure we're going to revisit this story because it's one of my big fuck ups early on. Failed that business, realized coaching, consulting, education, guidance, mentorship was the way to go to get going in the right direction. Started to get a little bit of that. Realized I found this love of real estate. Started investing heavily in real estate, started to build a fairly significant operation. Fast forward to today, scaled out of one of those real estate operations, sold it. Still do real estate up to this point, but also came to find this other deeper love, and that was the marketing side. And that's what led me into now owning and being the CEO and one of the co-founders of REI Toolbox and everything that we do for the marketing side for real estate. So yeah, that's the quick backstory. Published 2 books, working on a 3rd one right now. Many people laugh at that because I was the guy that failed English class over and over and over again. Yet I've got my name on two books that you can see in the background right now. So that's kind of like my life highlight right there.
Awesome. So for anybody that maybe doesn't know or didn't catch the reference, you said you were really good at blowing things up in the military. I just happen to know because we've had these conversations, but you were EOD, right?
Yeah, it started off more on the combat engineer side of the house, which really is a combination of explosives and construction. Engineers can be sent in 2 different phases. I just happened to end up down this track where I was constantly being attached to ground units. I was constantly being involved in IED defeat and all the IED battles during Iraq and Afghanistan, which led me into more explosive ordnance and IED defeat and IED disposal and all this other stuff. So that's why I always joke my time in the Marine Corps was a blast.
But we'll put that in the edit after.
Drum roll. All right.
Okay. So, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to ask now because you opened up the invite. Tell us about that first business right out of the Marine Corps. What was it? I'm pretty sure I know. Was it a construction company?
That's what it was in my mind.
Okay.
It definitely was not that on real world application. So
Okay.
there's a little bit of a story. I'll try to keep this one short that led into it. I got out of the Marine Corps. First off, my family was pissed. My grandfather, love him to death. He's up in heaven now, but for probably a good 8 months while I was waiting to get out of the service to EOS, um, he kept telling me that I was basically an idiot. Because what are you going to do? What are you going to come back to Northeast Ohio? What are you going to come to Youngstown and do? And there was something in me that just said there was something better in life. There was something more for me to do other than continue down this path of Marine Corps service. When I got home, I really had nothing to do. So I had to fall back on the one other skill that I was able to snag from the Marine Corps. And that was I happened to get my Class A CDL. I was licensed to drive pretty much every type of rig there is on the road. So I fell into truck driving and I hated it. But my family was happy because it was a consistent job. I was making money. I had the 401k, I had the health coverage, all of that. So that pleased them. But for 8.5 months, I hated life. Like living in the back of a truck was worse than being on deployment.
Yeah.
And randomly one day, I got fed up. I was up in Detroit and I left. I literally called my dispatcher and said, "That's it, I'm done." Packed up the truck in a rental car, drove home, and I pulled in my dad's driveway. It was a Wednesday afternoon. And he questioned, what are you doing here? And then he looked around and why is there a rental car? Where's the semi? Like, what's going on? And I said, "Oh, I quit." And the "you're an idiot" completely started all over again.
Right.
So I had to lean on something. And I was like, you know what? It's really, really easy in Ohio to get a contractor's license. I mean, it's literally as fast as you can file paperwork with the state. You can get your business name, your EIN, you're all set to go. There really is no licensing. So I was like, I'm going to start a home remodeling company, kitchens, baths, floor, easy stuff. Right.
Right.
And I managed to land a job or two. And then the real pain started to set in. I was landing those couple jobs, but for some reason I still was broke. So I'm doing work, but I don't have any money left over.
Yeah.
Projects, I'm running out of money on the project. I'm struggling to find the next set of jobs. And really, I started to realize as I started to dive into trying to figure out this entrepreneur life a little bit more, reading books, listening to podcasts at the time, watching YouTube, all these different things, started to realize that all I'd done was really created a prison. It wasn't even a job. Like if I didn't get up every day, get in the truck, go to the job site, put the cabinets in, lay the floor, it wasn't going to get done. But then I also had to go do the estimates. And then I also had to write the bids. Then I had to go sell and lock in a contract on it. And it sucked. So the real
Really
first
a one-man show at this point, like no employees?
None.
Wow.
I had no concept on how to even run a business, let alone what did that mean to try to get somebody, like, how am I going to pay them? I don't have a stash of money, right? This was all the stuff that was in my mind at the time.
Right.
And the big mess up, what happened is I realized I didn't understand the key fundamental of business. Outside of the bookkeeping, outside of the paperwork, the administrative side, right? The key fundamental, in my opinion, is you've got to keep a pipeline full of opportunities in your face.
Yeah.
If you don't, something's going to dry up at some point. And that's ultimately what happened. 6.5, 7 months. So here I am just over like a year, almost a year and a half out of the Marine Corps now, regretting my decision because I'm working harder. I'm struggling left and right. All the money I'd been able to stash away driving semi is now gone. And I've got the family basically, looking over my shoulder at every move, questioning, why did you choose this over continuing where you were at? Yeah. And I was in a bad spot. I had to really think long and hard before I made the next move because I was this close to just saying, you know what, maybe I need to re-enlist and get back out of here.
Okay.
Yeah, I've known a lot of people, entrepreneur or non-entrepreneur, that have fallen into that same, I don't want to say trap, right? Because it is a great opportunity. The military did a lot for me as well, but I think that's something incredibly common within our community of service members, that ETS, and then even the few who go from that into entrepreneurship. It's just an incredible leap. But I just wanted to acknowledge that, Maria. It sounded like you had a question.
Yeah, I want to know, like, what was that shift like? Because that is a huge mindset shift right there. You're coming from this military mindset from a family that sounds like they're mostly W-2 employees. So they all want you to be safe and secure, right?
Mhm.
Have the pension, have all that stuff. So, like, what was the next step, or what was like the trigger to keep you on your path of entrepreneurship at that time?
I think a lot of it's I'm very hard-headed, and I was real hard-headed at that time. Almost to the point to where I didn't want to fail myself, and I was failing, and that really hurt. Um, it hurt my own ego. It hurt the way that I looked at myself.
Mhm.
And as I started to look at what the next move was, and that's kind of how it led into real estate, because I started to sit back and think like, why do I need to find other work when if what if I just got my own place, bought my own house, or found a way to get a property and flip, or maybe I go find these people that are flipping and just do their work for them. Um,
Mm.
but for me at that time, the grind was I'm going to like the mindset in my mind was I'm going to figure this out. I don't know what that looked
Mm.
like. I didn't understand how, but I just knew, I had been through multiple combat tours. I've been through multiple deployments. There's been so many other things in my life that are so rough that if I can
Yeah.
get through that, I can figure this shit out. Right. There's no reason why I can't.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it was scary. I'm not going to lie. Um, but eventually, started to piece things together.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. So this business fails. Like,
Oh, completely.
how long? How long were you in
Actually,
business?
well, like I said, about 6.5 months in, it really was doomed to fail at the beginning. If I take all the marketing and all the stuff that I know now and I look back at it, the name itself was terrible. Mr. T's Home Fixins. Fixins felt like I was in the country. Mr. T came because growing up playing baseball, my father was always an umpire of my games, and everybody called him Mr. T. Our last name's Tiberio, but he always
Okay.
looked like, the big Mr. T, only not black kind of thing. So I was like, oh, I'm going to be smart. I'm going to combine all of these two together. But Mr. T's Home Fixins, it sounded like I was a freaking catering company, and I'm over here trying to
Yeah.
market to do your kitchen and bathroom remodel.
Nice.
So what did marketing look like for you at that time? Because I know you're an expert now. What was it back then?
Back then it was a couple magnets on a truck, some business cards, and begging family to give me referrals. My cousin at the time was the pro desk manager at Home Depot in our town.
Yeah.
So I constantly was going in there in the morning and be like, Joe, you know anybody? Joe, has anybody asked for this? Hey, Joe, do you know anybody that needs this kind of work? I'm ready to do this kind of stuff. And just hoping that I would get these random referrals. Or I remember the first time somebody called me because they saw my truck and saw the magnet. And that was like, I thought I made it because
Yeah.
there's
Right.
this random person that was not referred by anybody that I know, just randomly calling me, wanting to know if I can give them a bid on something. But yeah, that was marketing then.
So what would you say, because we do have listeners that are, some are just getting started, some are, at different levels and everything. If you had to go give yourself advice, to Mr. T's Home Fixins now, and you had a similar budget and similar setup to what you had back then, what would you say? What would you tell him to do?
Don't go with that decision. Take that budget and invest yourself into some education. I mean, straight up, because
Yeah.
as soon as I started to do that, I realized, holy crap, there was no making that work. I was doomed from the get-go because so many cards were stacked in the wrong direction that I should have probably gotten some education, studied a little bit first before I made that initial move.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. Okay. So what was next? What was
Yeah,
it the next company? Was it the education? What was next?
No,
after
it was education. So I'm leaving Home Depot one day, trying to figure out how I'm going to get this job done because there's $10,000 or $12,000 sitting out there waiting for me. If I finish this up, I can get this money. Like I
Mhm.
said, bank accounts were pretty much bone dry. I was going to be finding my way to the streets here soon if I didn't get some money in. Family was pretty much fed up with me at this point. And a radio ad came over, what came on the radio as I was pulling out of Home Depot. Learn how to flip houses in the Youngstown market, learn how to make $25,000 or more, free session, blah, 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 call to get your tickets. And all I heard was flip houses. This is something that had been in my thoughts at this point. 25,000 to flip a house. That's more than I'd made on any project, that I was over here trying to do. I couldn't grab the phone fast enough to call and get registered for that 2-hour session. And I called the girl that I was dating at the time. And I was like, you'll never guess. I got us 2 tickets. I made it sound like it was something special. Like, I want us these 2 tickets. But because I knew I needed to convince her to come.
Yeah.
Because I knew that something about this wasn't like, I can't do this alone. I've been trying to do this alone and it's not working. I need some support. Right. So I had to convince her. And I remember making it sound like we'd struck the lottery kind of thing. Like, we won these 2 free tickets. We got to go kind of thing, and guilted her into doing it. And we went to that 2-hour session, and you guys all know, what that turns into now. That 2 hours turned into a 3-day, and I had just enough money to afford the 3-day ticket. But I purposely, because Erin at the time Erin's her name, but Erin at that time wanted to promise each other that we weren't going to spend any more money. So we left her purse, my wallet, everything at the house. Now, the Holiday Inn was only about 5 minutes away, but I remember getting to a certain point in there where I was like, I need to do this, but I didn't have my wallet. And I made her drive home to get it, to come back, to be able to buy it. And it wasn't because I saw this like business thing. It wasn't because I saw $1 million on the wall. It wasn't because I thought I was going to be a millionaire the next day. Yeah. For me, it was I needed the education. And actually through that whole process, even though they were teaching how to get into real estate, how to be a real estate investor, how to flip houses, I was seeing it as business education, how to successfully run a business, how to build the right systems, right? How to keep things moving forward that I struggled with before.
Right.
Yep.
And so it led us into that track, which then eventually led us into real estate. Once I grasped a little bit of this knowledge, then I was like a bull in a china shop. I couldn't slow myself down. And that's kind of what led into the next set of mistakes. I wouldn't call those ones fuck ups, but they were definitely, there's some mistakes there. So
okay. I like it. We're going through like the chapters of Shawn Tiberio here. What was the next? Where did it go? What happened?
From there, once I started going, like I said, bull in china shop, I started letting the coach dictate everything. Coach said, put marketing out. At the time, I'd be curious if some of the listeners of this even remember doing marketing like this. And let me backtrack a second. When I was learning that stuff, that's when I also started to realize I got to find a way to market. So I started studying marketing knowledge, right? And at the time, Craigslist was the place to market. Right? Ooh, Facebook really wasn't even big yet. Facebook pages, business pages were just
you're aging yourself right now, Shawn, but keep going. So
Craigslist was today's Google at that time. There was ways to publish ads, and there was this whole process on how to optimize your Craigslist listings, how to game the system, and how to get them to show up and all that stuff. And I started to study that whole process. And the coach was like, you need to put marketing in out. And I was like, I have $1. Where can I use marketing? Let me find the free sources. Craigslist was free.
Yep.
So I started gangbusters, writing ads. Got the first seller to call me. And I just immediately went, like, phone call came in. Let's say it was Jake. Hey, this is Shawn with, House to Home Properties. How can I help you? Hi, my name's Jake. I got a house to sell. Great. What's the address? I'll be there in an hour.
Yeah.
And boom, out the door I went. So big set of mistakes right there, right? Not even asking any questions, wasting a ton of time, all this.
It's in like
but I was
great shape or something. Yeah.
I'm coming from a business that failed, and suddenly things are somewhat working. Yep. I got stupid excited. So I go look at the property. I don't even think I ran comps on it. I just made an offer, locked this house up for $25,000. Turn around, and the coach was like, well, now you're going to have to sell the contract if you can't close on it. And Aaron right away was in my face, like, where are we going to get 25,000 from? Right? We're both not really doing well, kind of thing. And I was like, don't worry about it. I'll figure this out. And then I'd go to at the time, my office, which was the old construction company's office, was really a broom closet above a motorcycle shop. where they fix bikes all day. And it was this tiny little broom closet. So I ran to the office. I'm in panic mode. And I was like, well, Craigslist found me the seller. I wonder if Craigslist can find me the buyer. So I started putting ads up on Craigslist for the contract for sale, but I made a mistake. I was writing the ads that I had a house to sell.
Oh,
So here we are, 10:30 at night on a Friday night. I get an email. Somebody replying to that ad that wants to meet at 8 a.m. for breakfast to talk about the house. And as I'm reading the email, the email signature said real estate attorney.
oh.
And I thought for sure I was done. Like
They
I
found
screwed
me.
something up. This is good. I didn't even know how to reply to the guy.
Yeah.
But I finally replied with, okay, see you. And I forget the name of the place, but it was just down the street. I was like, okay, see you tomorrow. Your treat. Like you buy breakfast.
Oh, okay.
And he answered
I
back
love
with, sounds good. I'll have a table for us. Now, the whole night I didn't sleep because one side of me was like, this guy wants to actually buy it. I'm going to actually be able to wholesale something, right? The other side of me was like, you're going to walk in and there's going to be a full-fledged sting operation.
You're getting arrested.
SWAT team, U.S. Marshal, like they're all going to come.
Right.
And that's it. You broke every law there is to break when it comes to real estate, and you're going to jail.
Yes.
So I remember walking in and seeing this guy sitting there, and I said his name, and he's like, yeah, that's me. And we sat down and talked. And come to find out, he actually wanted to get the house because he wanted to land contract it to clients of his who had lost their home in a fire and couldn't afford to buy anything. So it was actually a legitimate deal. And right there at the table, we signed the assignment contract. And then after it was all said and done, ink on paper, then he said, hey, by the way, next time, say you have a contract to sign to sell, not a house to sell.
Mm.
So he kind of, and we became really good friends. And he actually was the top attorney in our area for landlord tenant laws, did a ton of evictions. And he ended up becoming a really good friend of ours and somebody that became a big business asset for us as things, kind of grew from there. But the mistake that came out of that, there was the little ones not marketing it the right way. The mistake that I realized at that time then was I was going down the exact same path. I was trying to do it all myself.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And I needed, if we were going to do more of these deals and more faster, I needed to figure out how to get other people involved. It couldn't just be Shawn running around town, looking at the property, writing the offers, meeting with these people, and trying to deal with getting the market. There's just not enough time in the day to do it all.
Yeah.
And that first deal took me probably about 8.5, 9 months from the time I shut down the construction company and went all in on real estate to get that first deal done. And it was like, I can't have 9 months between deals, going forward.
Shawn, just to clarify, so the construction company, you decide, okay, this is going to shut down from the day that you actually invested in yourself and invested in that education, and you've made that poor woman drive back to her house and grab your wallet. How long was that? What was that span?
It was about a 9-month window.
Oh, okay, so that's same
to
time
get
frame.
that to get that first. Well, no. So I shut everything down the day that I bought the ticket to go to the 3-day event. And that's when I kind of was like, you know what? I'm done. I went home. I took the magnets off the truck. I quit wearing the T-shirts everywhere, threw the business cards away kind of thing. It was like, this one is done. I'm going to rebuild from scratch and hopefully do it the right way this time.
Yeah. I just want to bring up, I think this is really interesting because I've been talking about this a lot lately of entrepreneurs thinking that they can do everything themselves. And it's like, even if you were a W-2 employee at some point, or you were in the military and you were never a W-2 employee, like you don't complete missions by yourself in the military, right? Like you definitely don't like run a business or work a W-2 job like solo 99% of the times. But yet entrepreneurs get started and they think that they can wear all the hats and learn everything and do all the activities. So I love that that was one of your awarenesses and probably your biggest mistake with the first company. And how you even mentioned like just getting Aaron to support you by going to the event with you. Like you needed the the like backing support first, and then once you decide to do this business, you need actual like physical labor support. We need to hire people, right?
Yeah, I mean, Jake, you could probably, resonate with this. When you're in the service and you got a platoon of guys or even a squad, right? You're a squad leader and you got 12, 13 other people underneath you. And
Yeah.
then suddenly you have to be the one to do everything. It's like, wait, this sucks. Where's my help? Where's
Yeah.
my peon, little PFC privates that I can delegate everything to? And I didn't have that.
Yeah.
And that was the big kind of like aha, that if I want to scale, if I want to do this, I've got to build my squad of workhorses, right? I need
Yeah.
my fire team leaders. I need my individual privates and PFCs, my individual riflemen of my company. And
Yeah.
I knew I didn't want to wholesale because
Yep.
it was nice to make 5, 6, 7,000 on that deal. I think we ended up just over $6,000 on the first one. I did another one right after that, got a little bit better, made about 8 or 9 on it. But I knew wholesaling wasn't going to be the only way to do business.
Right.
I needed to get back into what I knew, and that was the construction side of things. But if I took down a property that needed to be renovated, I can't do the work because I can't
Right.
also run this thing. And I get asked this question a lot because I speak at a lot of events. I'm always at different conferences, and this question always comes up. If you can go back and redo it again, what would you do different? And I always say I would have hired faster.
Yeah.
And I thought
Yeah.
I hired pretty fast. And I'm looking back at it going, no, I should have hired faster. We should have got some people working on some things a lot quicker than we actually did. And God knows what the success would have looked like. It was a good run,
Right.
with what we did. But could that have been better?
That's that, but I mean, I think you could always think that about everything. Obviously, you've come a very long way and had a very successful career. To kind of just circle back to your point about being able to resonate with that transition, going from that military, having those people below you. There's a sense of like accountability there that you also get from that. And the big challenge for me was actually that freedom. I got out and I was like, "Oh my god, this is amazing. I have no formations. I have nobody calling me saying, "Sergeant, I can't find my uniform this morning," or like all this ridiculous stuff that comes up. And then like 6 months went by and I was like, "Wow, I have nothing going on." Like I had my business and everything, but there was nobody else there. And I was going to one of those events that you were talking about, and I happened to be fortunate enough to download and listen to the E-Myth the entire car ride. And holy shit, it blew my world apart. I was like, this makes so much sense. And I hired my first person. I got that accountability factor. I got my team going, and then I did my first deal after I made my first hire. So I love that this is the theme that we're talking about here. And if anybody's listening to this, read the E-Myth if you haven't. It'll show you exactly what we're talking about right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So now I want to go from real quick because that company ended up being huge. You had different aspects of it, right? You were fix and flip, property management, all the things, right? So give us a quick overview on that and how you exited that, because I want to get into where you are now with marketing. So
fast forward a handful of years, we stumbled into needing to build a property management company. I never actually wanted to build one. We just happened to be acquiring a ton of properties and holding on to them as rentals. Another investor came into town, fell in love with one of them, wanted to buy it from us, but wanted us to manage it. And that's what kind of led into that. And very quickly, we went from one door, under management with one client to hundreds of doors under management and multiple clients left and right, which then got the attention of a very large property manager in our area that basically was like, you guys need to go. We were pretty much controlling the rental market at that time. We were controlling the renter pool. We were leveraging, this is where marketing really started to get in. We started building a very significant database of potential renters. We started leveraging technology, texts, short codes, all these things, online stuff. And I mean, we're talking 2014, 15, 16,
Right.
Facebook really was kind of getting big now at this point. Instagram hadn't even really been a thought. It was more of a place to just share pictures.
Yeah.
but yet here we are leveraging technology left and right, texting codes. Does anybody even remember Periscope? We were doing walkthroughs of videos on Periscope. This is before Facebook Live, right? So we were leveraging a lot of things out of the norm, which got the attention. That's kind of how we exited that business, because we made such a drastic impact on the lifelong businesses in that area, the 30, 35, 40-year veterans of the property management world, that they were fighting over getting us out. And but at that same time, we were 20 to 25 flips at a time. I had construction crews on the road. We did 5 different states with Love's Travel Stops. We're doing a lot of industrial building. That led me into, before I talk about where I'm at today, that led me into looking at doing real estate in markets that in states that I didn't even know. I started tapping into Alabama. Had a couple flips in Birmingham. We had a flip going in Huntsville. Huntsville was a big fuck up. That's more of a partnership talk if we want to go into that route. Making sure you pick the right partners when you do JV deals. And that's, eventually kind of got out of the active side of real estate, the flipping so much, and eventually just kind of stuck with what I really love. And that's rental properties in Youngstown, Ohio. It's one of my favorite things, to look at and invest in.
Awesome. So you mentioned, the partnership fuck up. I don't know if that's something we want to kind of explore. We have had a lot of guests who have brought that topic up. I'm curious if you have maybe an original take on that. So what was that fuck up? If you're
I don't know what your past guests have said, but I think the biggest mistake on that one was understanding that even though you're clear on roles, right? I know the three of us, we talk to a lot of younger real estate people.
Yeah.
We always tell them, get clear on job roles or get clear on partnership roles. If you're going to go into business, whether on a one deal thing or you're going to partner up and join forces on a company, get clear on whose responsibility it is for what tasks and things to create a safe working environment, we'll call it. That's good, but somebody at some point has to step in as kind of the sledgehammer when it needs to be there.
Yeah.
And that's where that went south. We stood to make almost just shy of $500,000 on this deal. And one person was choosing, because that was his task, his role, to list the property. He was trying to guide and dictate every aspect around that and negotiating around that. Even though me and the other person that was involved saw that it wasn't the right call, that we should have gotten on sooner, that there was like 10 different things that should have been changed. But because that was his area of this deal, we sat back. And I look back and that deal ended up going completely south. We went from almost $500,000 in profit to losing almost all of it. I think we ended up walking away splitting like $40,000 instead. And when I look at what went wrong is me and the other person didn't put our foot down, right? We didn't step in as the two other partners and say, hold on a second. I know this is your area, but we need to step in and we're gonna make an executive decision here.
Yeah.
So that would be my and I don't know what your other guests have said or what their things are, but that's my big thing: is get clear on the role, but also be very clear, like who is. And is it safe? Does everybody understand that anybody at any point can step in and say, hold up, stop, right? Put the brakes on, and here's why.
Yeah. Right. It's almost like either, when things are going astray, now we have to team up, have a meeting, what's going on, how do we remedy this? Or it's like, choose one person that's just going to be the decision maker at the end of the day, so that when things go astray, this one person gets to veto everyone else, right? And it's like, no, this is what we're doing. So that's interesting. It definitely is not something that I don't think anyone else has brought up.
No.
And again, I will say one thing though, because this comes up a lot with even students that I've mentored in the past. The biggest issue with JV agreements is the fact that most of the time they're written for the best possible outcome, and no one's actually sitting there thinking about, well, what if, or what
Yep.
could go wrong. And really that's what you need to decide on and plan for in the beginning and put in your JV agreement. Because if your JV agreement only says, oh, we're going to split the profit 50-50, but then you lose money, who's responsible for are we also losing 50-50? Right. So like, there's definitely, I think, just a lot that people could work on with the wording and formation of their JV agreements from the onset.
100%.
All right. We got to fast forward to marketing, because I want to know how you went from selling a property management company, because that's what ultimately happened. You sold a property management company.
Yep.
And then did you immediately like let go of everything else too? Did you stop the flips, stop rentals, sell your rentals? Like, what was everything else? And then how did we get into marketing?
Short answer on that is yes. A lot of that stuff stopped for a little while, partially because the whole property management bundle, what we had built was a massive turnkey operation. So when they wanted to buy up the management side of it, it was like, we got to stop this other part, because our whole business model was find these properties that made sense, renovate them, get a tenant in it. And we had a pool of buyers ready to buy it, but they wanted us to manage. We lose the management component. Suddenly the business model didn't make any sense.
Right.
At that time, I was also traveling like crazy. I was flying all over the country, speaking at multiple different seminars a month, running multiple different trainings a month for another operation. So I just kind of leaned into that for a little bit, and then eventually kind of realized I wanted to get into more of the consulting side of real estate on the marketing aspect. To answer the question, how did I transition from active real estate investor into more of the marketing aspect? I started to look back and realize our success with the real estate company, house to home properties, house to home construction, my number one failure in the beginning was the no idea how to find opportunities. By the end of all of that, I knew exactly how to find opportunities. I understood marketing through and through. And that was my core area of focus with our real estate operation, was the lead generation side of it, the initial handling of things, the acquisition intake. And then I would hand it off to other team members to handle the funding, the closing, that kind of stuff. And then we had our project management team that I kind of oversaw, but I wasn't doing the active stuff. It was the marketing component for me. And as I shifted into the consulting side, what I always came to find out was real estate companies, I don't care if it's real estate agents, real estate investors, their number one struggle is lead gen, finding opportunities. Partially because nobody's really teaching how to truly do it. Everybody's teaching the grassroots old style of marketing, because most real estate education out there is built to teach you about real estate, how to invest in it, how to analyze the property, right? How to do the deal safe. Marketing is the secondary thought. It's like, oh yeah, just go put bandit signs out, just write a bunch of direct mail, slap them with yellow letters. That's how you find, buy a list, skip trace it, cold call your ass off. That's how you'll find deals.
Yeah.
Because that's not their area of expertise or their focus. I started studying not just real estate businesses and how to market that. I started studying business in general, service-based businesses, product-based businesses. What's the difference? B2C B2C marketing, B2B marketing. What makes things different in that, and what makes people tick, and how do people make their decisions, and all these kind of things that answer that question on the marketing side. So as I started to get a little bit away from traveling and speaking as much, was tired of flying 170,000 miles a year, and just kind of wanted to sit back and say, let me just consult and coach. I found myself having these marketing talks like crazy, which ultimately led me to, you guys know him, another kind of business partner of all of us here. But my business partner, Roger, he had a small web dev company. He was just doing website development for mainly mobile pet groomers. And every time I'd get a real estate client, I'd call Roger up and I'd be like, hey, I need you to build them a website. I need you to get them going on this. I need help with this, component of marketing. And fast forward to 2019, December of 2019, he got on a call. I thought it was a coaching call. I thought I was getting on the call to coach him because we would do this every so often. He'd book a time with me. I'd get on. I'd give him some guidance on how to try to build his web dev company a little bit more. And instead, he had this other plan. He got on and he pitched me with this idea of basically absorbing him and going under one umbrella and bringing the marketing, consulting, and education component with the done for you model and really build this agency. And that's when REI Toolbox was pitched and rolled out. And since then, that has been my main focus is really on the REI Toolbox side of things, helping real estate investors, real estate agents all over the country with their lead gen and online marketing. And my real estate today is passive properties, rental properties in Youngstown when they pop up that catch our eye or something that strikes us. And we still have access home buyers, and it runs over there. My brother's kind of the forefront of that, and we get random opportunities that I analyze, but for the most part, I'm only looking on the passive side.
Yeah. Awesome. What a progression.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the REI Toolbox progression as well, because it didn't really start out that you knew that you were going to focus on just real estate.
No, we actually launched under a completely different name. We launched under Top Results Consulting, TRC. It's still there. We still have a bunch of legacy clients. We use TRC now for basically non-real estate. But this was actually a mistake.
Okay.
We want to add a mistake to this side of the equation. Yeah, Roger wanted to go all in on real estate. And at this point, I was so burnt out with it. Not necessarily burnt out from doing it. I was just burnt out with dealing with it. Dealing with real estate companies that just tried to operate the way Marie, you guys were just talking about, and I've seen some of your posts the last couple of days, operating from scarcity. And I didn't want to deal with it. And Roger's like, no, that's what we know. That's what we're good at. That's what we need to do. We need to niche into it. And I fought it for a good year until all of a sudden he brought it up on a meeting one day and he was like, just look at our client base right now. Yeah. And it was overwhelming. It was like 88% real estate clients to, 12% non-real estate clients. And that's when the writing hit the wall, like, shit, all right. I guess we're going to go all in on this and kind of bring the actual brand REI Toolbox as the forefront of everything. And, fast forward to today, it's, 95% of our business is REI Toolbox. 5% comes from the TRC side. And once again, right, Jake, you said this earlier, like there's always these times you can look back. But once again, I looked at it and was like, why the fuck did I fight it so long? We should have did this sooner.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you were swimming in it. You were swimming in it probably all day, all night for years. You had been. I don't blame you for wanting to just, take a step outside of it and catch some fresh air, metaphorically speaking, for a little while,
Yeah.
So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, when something's in your blood, and I say this all the time, I might not be actively flipping right now, but there isn't a flip situation that I probably haven't encountered in the 12 years that I've been doing real estate. So I don't think you need to actively be doing everything to understand it when you've got enough, experience around it. And that's what I love about real estate is there's so many different ways to invest in it and to make money in the game that there really isn't Jake and Marie, you guys are wholesalers. You're not allowed to flip, right? You better wholesale for the rest of your life. Now you can pivot and adjust based on just the way that you woke up today and decided if that's, what you choose to do.
Absolutely. And even within that, like the wholesalers, the companies are not doing it the same way. They're not doing the same model. They're not doing the same marketing. It's also individual.
All right. So let's even fast forward just a little bit more, because I want to talk about now what mistakes you've made or what lessons you've learned that made that company grow and scale. We've talked about not hiring soon enough, maybe not niching down soon enough. What else have you learned or has completely propelled your business forward in the last couple of years?
Big thing I learned early on was, so take all the stuff that I had gone through in the other businesses, right? Those are always thoughts in the back of the mind. Need to hire a little bit faster. We've also made the mistake of hiring way too fast or way too much, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
So there is that fine line. And early on, we didn't hire at a fast rate. We were doing just kind of, okay, we need it, let's hire. We need it, let's hire. Then we started to get a little bit too fast, and overhead got a little crazy. And unfortunately, I think one of the hardest things as a business owner, especially as a CEO and somebody at the helm, where everybody's looking at you to be the captain of the ship, is to have to eventually look backwards and kind of look down, so to say, and tell people they're going to have to get off the boat,
Yeah.
because I can't afford to keep this boat afloat, right? Where we're sinking, if I leave you on. And that's a very hard thing to do. So early on, we made that mistake quite a bit. And that's something that, as of late, the last year and a half, it's something we spend a lot of time, probably more time than I think most people normally do in business, really looking at bottom line numbers, budget, team, these type of thing, scaling the way that makes sense, not just scaling because, well, I'm tired of doing the work, so I'll just go hire somebody to do it.
Yeah.
As much as I agree with that, hire the things you don't want to do, you also have to be able to financially cover that, and not out of your own pocket, the business, right? That's the other difference in this business, because REI Toolbox TRC has really turned into, it's well over a 7-figure a year operation now. Whereas the real estate side, it's hit. You never know what's going on with the real estate, based on how many deals you're doing, is based on how much money is coming in. There's no reoccurring business model to it. Whereas in the marketing agency side, there's this reoccurring side. But all that means is that means there's reoccurring work, which means there's reoccurring tasks. And I think businesses need to spend a little bit more time focusing on the operational side. That's been another big area of mistakes for us. Not me personally, I'm more on the front end, sales, marketing, right? Driving the ship of the company, not really paying attention to what's going on behind me on the fulfillment side sometimes. And I think you really need to make sure that you kind of stay in tune with that. And that's something I struggle with still to this day. It's a little bit of a weak point. I spend a lot of time focusing on it, getting clarity, getting on meetings, making sure if I don't understand what fulfillment is doing or what operations, in real estate, if you're doing rehabbing and you're the guy out locking up contracts and lining up funding and closing, and then you disappear, go find the next deal, and not paying attention to what's going on with your rehab team. Are we on track? Right. You really need to make sure that you're keeping that fine tune kind of rhythm in there.
Yeah. All right. So 21st century, what century are we in right now? 21st century?
What you call this?
I know. It's weird, right?
Present day.
Present day, 2023. What are the best marketing strategies for real estate investors? I'm going to ask you a selfish question.
How much time are we going on this thing? Because
not about your mistakes. But no, I'm just asking because we mentioned Craigslist and
yeah. So I mean, as I joked before, Craigslist was the Google of today. Google, hands down, it is the place where people go for information. But that doesn't mean that all your eggs should be in that basket either. Some of the best tactics right now out there are the tried and true methods. Still work. You guys know this as well as anybody. The cold texting, the cold calling, and the direct mail. Yep. It still works. The difference is it works when you layer multiple other medias around that. And when I say medias, I'm talking about the outlets. Yep. So whether that's paid ads and you're hyper targeting there, or targeting on social media with some paid ads and then drawing them in and then hitting them with direct mail and cold calling and cold texting behind that. It could be geofencing ads. It could be, TV ads, radio. I don't care what it is. Multiple medias combined together. I just had this talk with we have a partnership with a education platform. I was running a training last week for them. And the average person needs 12 to 13 touches to make a decision. You don't know where you're at in their touch points of decision making when you first get in contact with them. I don't care what that contact is, the text, the call, the direct mail, the advertisement, whatever it is. That could be their first time being touched with this message, this concept of sell my house fast, get a cash offer for my home, right? It could be their 9th.
Right.
You don't know where it's at. So you need to be looking at marketing, not from tactical approaches. This is the other problem that I see. A lot of mistakes out there. So everybody launches marketing tactics, not marketing campaigns. Shawn, I got a marketing campaign going. You do? What is it? Let me hear it. What's the breakdown of it? Well, I'm just texting people.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a tactic, right? So you've got a marketing tactic in play. No singular tactic at the end of the day can do all the work. SEO can't do all the work. Ads can't do all the work. Texting can't do all the work. Cold calling can't do all the work. It's no different than Shawn can't do all the work and run the company by himself, right?
True.
You have to hire people around you. You have to build a team to build a business. Your marketing needs a team. It needs other marketing team members out there doing things because, again, I don't know where they're at in their journey. And I don't also know where these people tend to, go to get more information. They may go to the internet. They may go to social media. They may want something in the mail. There's so many different ways for people to decide, right? They might want to watch a video. They might want to listen to the audio. You've got to have multiple tactics combined into it. So if I were to say in 2023, going into 2024, regardless of what the market is doing, right, regardless of what's happening in the real estate market, one thing's consistent. The way people are making decisions, we're in a technology age. They are going to go online. They are going to do things. You need to be kind of everywhere that they potentially could be looking to get that information in their hands.
It's that really omnipresent approach, right? Like you got to be everywhere. So, all right.
And the other
Jake,
word, not to interrupt you there, but the other word to take from that is information. Real estate companies, at the end of the day, what we sell is a service, right? As real estate investors, we are real estate investors. That is not what we are to the seller. We are a solution. We are a hope, right? We're a service that they can utilize to deal with their real estate transaction. We are selling a service. And when people sell services, what the consumer of that service is looking for is the information about the service. So at the end of the day, your marketing job is to market information, not a result.
Yeah, man, that's gold. I literally just had this conversation. We onboarded 2 new closers today, and I was telling them to, sell the sizzle. And they're like, well, what's the sizzle? What, am I just making the offer? It's like, no, you are the fucking sizzle. Us as the company, what we do, the service we provide, like that's the sizzle.
What you do, how you do it, what makes you different, right?
Yes.
All of those things.
Yep. All right, Marie, you have a famous last question.
Awesome, Jake. No, I was going to ask you because usually I'm asking you, Jake, do you have any last questions before we get off? Or
no, I mean,
if not,
I get off the hook easy. No, like fun fact, no crazy thing, none of those.
No. My question for you is, how do people get in touch with you? Let's say they're a real estate investor and they need a real estate marketing company. How do they get in touch with Shawn Tiberio and REI Toolbox?
2 very, very easy ways. If you want to connect with me personally, it's at Shawn Tiberio pretty much on every social media platform. Most active on Facebook and Instagram. Find me on there, send me a message. If you're interested in REI Toolbox and what we can do on that front, it's reitoolbox.com. reitoolbox.com. All the information's there on the website. Very easy to check it out. And then if you want to grab time on the calendar, that calendar is directly with me. That's the other part that everybody gets all like, holy crap, it's actually, you actually get on these calls and meet with me. Yes, it's me on the other end. when you book those. So those are the two ways from there. And if anybody listening to this has any cool deals in Youngstown, Ohio, accesshomebuyers.com. We'd love to look at some cool deals in the Youngstown and Northeast Ohio areas.
Very cool.
Okay. And
Awesome.
then selfish plug. There's no way the three of us can end a podcast and not mention Investor Harvest.
Yeah, I think we probably should, huh?
Yeah. We owe it to it, to the listeners.
Jake kind of opened up saying, somebody that's not just a colleague, but somebody intertwined. So
yeah,
maybe Jake, you could drop a little bit on what we got going on the Investor Harvest
give
side.
a little Investor Harvest Salt Bay. So if you have enjoyed this podcast, if you've learned anything from listening to us go on about all of the copious mistakes that Shawn has made, no, I'm just kidding.
No, there's a lot. Okay.
No, it's like a badge of honor, right? The more mistakes, that means the more opportunity for growth, right?
Exactly.
But no, if you have learned anything from this, you can head over to investorharvest.com. You can check out our program. It's really designed to just be a no bullshit real estate education mastermind type environment where we're going to get together and go over a whole range of stuff. We have a lot of different expertise on the team. Marie brings an incredible amount of short-term rental knowledge. Shawn brings just not only the marketing, but the construction side as well, and much more. And then I just kind of stumble through and try to provide value where I can in the wholesaling space to folks. So.
Come on, you give a great customer experience. I think everyone likes booking calls with you more than me and Shawn lately.
They do.
Right?
I think what Jake's selling himself short. He's the master, folks, when it comes to operations, systems, SOPs, processes, management of a team, those kind of things. I learned something every single time Jake talks about any of that realm of stuff when it comes to what you guys got going on with the Laura Homes and the way you're running with your VAs and stuff. So don't sell yourself short, dude.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So check us out at investorharvest.com. And with that, Shawn,
you guys should probably reach out to the head of Investor Harvest and see if they'd be open to sponsoring the podcast.
Oh yeah, probably.
All right, Shawn, thank you so much for joining us this week.
Thanks for coming on, Shawn.
Thanks for having me. It was fun, and I love listening to the different episodes each week. So it's fun to actually be on one and share some of my mistakes.
Nice. Absolutely. It was great having you.